Good morning and welcome to Decorah UU. As you may have heard during the pre-service words, my name is Karen Estrel. My pronouns are she, her, and I will be helping to lead the service today. We are a welcoming, lay-led spiritual community moving together in time and space in an open search for truth and meaning. We believe in people's inherent capacity to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment, pursuing the good of humanity. You would think I'd have that memorized by now, but I do not. If you are visiting us today, we welcome you. Please note that you can complete the form at decorahuu.org/contact-us to receive our weekly electronic newsletter or to learn more about our congregation. You can learn more about Unitarian Universalism at uua.org. Now, I would like to turn things over to our primary service leader today, Julie Fischer. Julie?
Share the Plate recipient for May-June is the Decorah Community Food Pantry. And to support the food pantry, please write that on the memo section of your check. I'll say more about that in a little bit. If you want to connect with one of the UU small group circles, you can contact Sue Audie for that. UU giving can be done online. You can go to Decorah UU homepage and check on the Give Online button. Then you use Donate button to send your donation through PayPal, and you do not need a PayPal account. You can only donate to either Decorah UU or Share the Plate in one action. If you wish to donate to both, you have to do the process twice. We deeply appreciate the gifts of members and friends, whether weekly, monthly, or annually. And we do understand that present circumstances and uncertainties may affect your ability to make a financial contribution. Know that we value your gracious gifts of financial commitment or in kind, of whatever form they may take. The Decorah UU also has a service archive. If you have missed a service and want to catch up, you can go to the Decorah UU online and look for a small YouTube icon in the upper right corner, and it says watch past services on YouTube. So that will be a help to you. And remember also that we do have an emergency fund. Let Otter know if you are aware of fellowship, anyone in the fellowship needing help, support, or short-term financial assistance. Thank you.
Can you see a screen?
Good, that's it. All right, great, thank you.
All right, here's the chalice lighting, and the quote to read with it is, "In the darkest times, we can elevate ourselves by moral action." And that's a quote from Jacqueline Novogratz, author of Manifest for a Moral Revolution and co-founder of Rwanda's first microfinance organization. And now for our land acknowledgement. This land acknowledgement is a step in a practice of truth-telling that is also a call to work for reconciliation and justice. We acknowledge Northeast Iowa was and is home to the Iowa or Baksoche, the Sac and Fox, the Dakota and the Ho-Chunk, peoples whose relationship to this land continues today. I invite you now to take a moment for reflection upon the many legacies of displacement that have shaped where we live here in the Oneota Valley, or wherever you are listening from. We are committed to working for justice and equity for basic human rights, including the rights of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe in Massachusetts, who are currently fighting the federal government for the right to keep their lands today. And now a reading. This reading is called The Basic Call to Consciousness, and I'll just read it. The original instructions direct that we who walk about on the earth are to express a great respect, an affection, and a gratitude toward all the spirits which create and support life. We give a greeting and thanksgiving to the many supporters of our own lives: the corn, beans, squash, the winds, the sun. When people cease to respect and express gratitude for these many things, then all life will be destroyed and human life on this planet will come to an end. This message was delivered by the Haudenosaunee delegates, also known as the Iroquois Confederacy, to the United Nations in 1977. And now a song, Seek Not Afar Beauty. And thank you to Utter Dreaming for recording that music for us. And Julie, do you want to kick us off with joys and concerns? And then I'll help you look for hands up for anybody.
That would be great, Carolyn. Thank you. This is the time for joys and concerns or sorrows. You may light a virtual votive candle as you share any joys or concerns with the fellowship. All you have to do is enter the part of participants and raise your hand, and Carolyn will acknowledge you.
Beth Wahlberg.
Good morning. I wanted to light a candle. I don't think Rowan Collins is joining us today, but I was at the food pantry this week and heard through a friend of theirs that their grandfather died this week or last week from COVID out in Massachusetts. So I'm thinking of Rowan today.
Is there anyone joined by phone who would like to share a joy or sorrow or concern? You can hit *6 to share. And I see Ellen McDonald has her hand raised.
I I was just waiting to see if anyone else would do this, but we have 2 member families who have high school graduates. We have Finn graduating today, and Rex. We should be having a little ceremony like last week or something. Just another of the sad things we're missing.
I'm not sure who had their hand raised. It just said owner, but did somebody have their hand raised?
That's Ellen
yeah.
Rockney.
Oh, it's Ellen.
Hi.
Go ahead,
Can
Ellen.
I'm going to
you hear me?
rename her.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. First, yes, I would like to add additionally, congratulations to Rex and to Finn. How wonderful, how proud we all are of them and their extraordinary selves. And then I wanted to add a candle of joy for Otter Dreaming. And it's a funny thing this morning, I noticed that it's National Scavenger Hunt Day, and I looked on our Story People calendar to see if I put it on there, and I was really pleased about that. But then I noticed that Friday, the 30th, is that Friday or Saturday? It might be Saturday, is World Otter Day. And on the calendar, I have World Otter, and in parentheses, Dreaming Day. So let us all celebrate otter on the 30th of this month for World Otter Day, our beautiful otter dreaming, who brings so much dreamy music and goodness to our lives. And that is all.
I just would like to light a virtual candle for Ahmed Sharif, a young man imprisoned, and he is due to be released in August. However, right now he is in solitary confinement because one of his prison mates socked him in the face twice. So he got punished for it, which does not make any sense, but that's how things go in prison sometimes. I'm lighting this candle for his informing me and awakening me to a whole nother area of life that we all need to know more about. So for Ahmed Sharif, may he hold on and be released in August as planned. Thank you. Are there any other candles? If not, then we can take a moment.
I did raise my hand, Julie.
Okay, good.
Thank
Good.
you. Thank you. I wanted to light a candle as we are going into this Memorial Day weekend for all of those whose lives have been lost to COVID over these last 3 months. Almost twice as many as we lost in all of Vietnam. It's quite an astounding number. And the front page of the New York Times this morning lists the names of all those people. It's just a beautiful thing to see all these people acknowledged, and some of them even have little notes about them. For example, it might say, this man from Chicago loved music and was a great supporter of the community arts. And it's a beautiful thing that these people are being acknowledged as not just numbers, but names. And so let us think of them as we think of all those others that have been lost in peace and wartime throughout the life of our country.
We'll sing this together then, or say it together as we can. gifts of members and friends, both financial and in kind, allow the work of our fellowship to continue. We are thankful for any and all contributions. And I have already indicated how one can contribute, so let's do the response together. Thank you, Otter. And I'd like to give a little introduction to the readings. And this is a service, an informal service that aims to delve into the questions Laura Wright posed to us last week. We cannot do this in one session. It's going to be an ongoing thing. So this is going to be our first attempt to look at these questions and try to deal with them. Her questions were, where are we now? How did we get here? What is our vision for the future? And how do we get from there to here, or from here to there? There are three major stories, all current in our world right now. The first two stories answer the first two questions. But each of us is building a vision of the future, what we think needs to happen to ensure a planet where species, our species and all others we depend upon, can survive together. The three stories you will hear read to you and you will see in print come from a book called Active Hope. I love the subtitle. Here it is. How to Face the Mess We're In Without Going Crazy, by Joanna Macy and Chris Johnstone. We need to first understand the concepts of passive versus active hope. Passive hope is about waiting for external agencies to bring about what we desire. So the politicians have got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. We can't. We're too hopeless. Active hope is about becoming active participants in bringing about what we hope for. In the opportunity for discussion which follows these readings, I suggest we focus on our visions of what is healing for the earth and a resource-limited human culture, what those things may look like. What active steps do we see moving in that direction already? And what other movements or changes will need to be initiated? And Tosh will read for us.
Number 1, economic decline. Number 2, resource depletion. 3, climate change. 4, social division and war. 5, mass extinction of species.
Thank you, Jim. The third story is the Great Turning. In the agricultural revolution of 10,000 years ago, the domestication of plants and animals led to a radical shift in the way people live. In the Industrial Revolution that began just a few hundred years ago, a similar dramatic transition took place. These weren't changes in the small details of people's lives. The whole basis of society was transformed, including people's relationship with one another and with the earth. Right now, a shift of comparable scope and magnitude is occurring. It's been called the ecological revolution, the sustainability revolution, even the necessary revolution. This is our third story. We call it the great turning and see it as the essential adventure of our time. It involves the transition from a doomed economy of industrial growth to a life-sustaining society committed to the recovery of our world. This transition is already well underway. Our job for today is to consider some of the ways that the great turning is underway in our own community and in our world. And Carolyn will now divide us into 2 groups for sharing, after which we will come back together to summarize the group ideas at 10:50. And I want to ask a person in each group to keep a little running log of the ideas that come up, because I'm going to have an ongoing list of these things for us as the days go on, days, weeks, and months go on. So Carolyn, it's your turn now.
Group that wants to give a report out about the high-level conversation that happened in your breakout group?
Well, we really didn't define that yet, but I'll just ask somebody to do that if they feel like it. Otherwise, I can do it. We didn't organize that well, I guess.
You go ahead, Julie.
Okay.
Yes.
Who said that? Ellen? Okay.
No.
Yes.
All right, good. I'll go ahead then. Do you want me to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So our group was myself, Lolly, not Otter Dreaming, no. It was myself, Lolly, Beth, Mel, Ellen, Rockney, Fred, and Mary Jorgensen. And we couldn't get Lolly up on audio, so we'll include her later, and then I'll report. Anyway, we had several votes for the new generation as not focusing on material things, getting a car right away, those kind of issues, as having a different look at the world and what they want to have happen. And so that's very helpful and encouraging. Mel suggested that the meat industry is somewhat in decline because of young people between the ages of 24 and 35 going more to vegetarianism. So that's a trend that we may see, and that will be kinder to animals as well as to our environment. And Ellen mentioned that she really appreciates the direct sends that they can do online to people, helping them with, logistics and things that they need to do, and also cutting down on having to mail something with a stamp. She also mentioned that she feels that there is more tenderness for one another, counteracting the divisions that we feel in our society. And the things that try to distract us from the truth. She's feeling more tenderness and more love. Fred is saying that he feels that we need to get out of our comfortable era and reach out to people that are more on the margins. I think that's how I was understanding him, interacting more with real people. And then Mary was talking about the myths that we have current in our times, and that we have a choice. We have a choice to joyfully participate in the sorrows of the world, as Joseph Campbell puts it. And one of the things that Mary is noticing is getting to know her neighbors, many of whom are of a younger generation. They are having curbside happy hours. And she said it's really fun. And I know Janet's looking in. I know Janet's been having, she's been having porch happy hours. So people are finding ways to get together. Some of the things that I mentioned were organic agriculture, the local movement here for regenerative agriculture, and then the fact that we are becoming more aware of insects. Now, when have insects been in the main news before this? But now people are saying, oh my gosh, these are important critters, So this is hopeful. And the other things are the SILT, the Sustainable Iowa Land Trust, helping young farmers. Energy district movement from 1 to 9 different energy districts. the messages, the positive messages in our schools, keeping kids on the right track with their interactions with one another. And then just slowing down of all our activities due to COVID, less air travel, less long trips, less use of fuels, and conferences online that stop people from having to go long places and do a lot of air travel. And then a greater awareness of our endangered water resources and the need to protect them and assure that all people all over the world have those resources. So more conversation, hunger for it amongst people, and finding ways to get that sense of active hope going. So those are some of the things that we talked about, Carolyn.
Super. I think that do we still have Sue Adi on?
Sure. Yep.
I'm good. Sue, do you want to report for your group?
I will. And I think instead of commenting on many of those things which Julie mentioned, many of those things came up in our group as well. Many concerns that we have about what's happening. We did talk a little bit about whether we are more passive now or more active. And I think we kind of figured out that we are all finding new ways to be active, perhaps, that may on first impression seem more passive because we're away from each other, but we really are active. And we did talk about the importance of connecting with our national as UUs also. UU the vote is a big thing this year. And of course, it's always important, as Karen mentioned. But this is an especially important year. And so we need to be working to keep people and get people involved in voting, following Laura Wright's ideas of telling stories, personal stories, connecting with our neighbors, as you mentioned in your other group, doing things that help people see that we are human beings just like everyone else who care about each other, and that we can carry those things forward. And I see Bill Pardee said at the end of our meeting that voting is vital, but it's not enough to save us. And I think that's maybe a good way to end, that we need to take part in our democracy. It's so important, but that neighbor next to you is just as important. So let's keep all of those things in mind.
Can you see a screen with a little frog?
Yes.
Good. Haha, it worked. And now a song. Such a pretty tune, played and recorded by Otter Dreaming. And for those who can see the photograph of the little frog, that was taken by Parker Dean.
I would just like to say to that little picture that the tree frogs this year are out in great force, and they have the most marvelous low-pitched trilling voice calling to their lovers. If I were a female tree frog, I would have to be a polygamist because it is so beautiful. Okay, Carolyn, I think it's time for the closing words. In this time of change and searching for renewal of connections to Earth, to each other, and to all beings, may we live with ever deeper gratitude. Peace be upon you all, and thank you all for participating today and for helping.
Bye, everyone.